The viewport showed nothing but stars and darkness, which suited Owen Fraser just fine. He preferred the quiet of space to the noise of bureaucrats telling him how to save lives. His laboratory on Research Station Outpost 7 was small, cramped even, but it was his. Every piece of equipment, every sample, every note scribbled on the walls represented years of work that most of the galaxy refused to understand. A warning light blinked on his console. Company was arriving. Owen sighed and set down the tissue sample he had been examining. He knew what this visit meant. The Galactic Medical Council did not make social calls. The docking clamps engaged with a heavy thud that echoed through the station. Owen walked to the airlock and waited. Through the small window, he could see 3 figures in pristine white uniforms. Council officials. Their clothes probably cost more than his entire station. The airlock cycled open. Administrator Halt stepped through first, her crystalline skin reflecting the harsh station lights. She was tall, nearly 7 feet, and her presence filled the narrow corridor. Behind her came 2 other council members, carrying data pads and recording equipment. "Dr. Fraser," Halt said. Her voice had the quality of wind chimes, beautiful but cold. "We need to conduct the formal hearing." "Right here?" Owen gestured to the cramped hallway. "No courtroom, no jury?" "The decision has already been made. This is merely procedure." Halt moved past him into the laboratory. She looked around with obvious distaste at the cluttered workspace. "We are here to officially revoke your medical credentials." Owen followed her inside. "On what grounds?" Halt tapped her datapad. "Unauthorized treatment methods, refusal to follow established protocols, endangering patients with experimental procedures." She looked up at him. "Shall I continue?" "Please do," Owen said quietly. "I want to hear all of it." One of the other council members, a being with too many arms and a squid-like head, spoke up. "You treated the Blue Rod outbreak on Harvest Moon without council approval. Your methods were completely unorthodox." "My methods saved 4,000 lives," Owen replied. "Your approved treatments were killing them faster than the disease." "You got lucky," Halt said sharply. 23 times by your count. 23 diseases that you claim to have cured using methods that no reputable doctor would attempt." Owen felt his jaw tighten. Those were not lucky guesses. Each treatment was based on understanding the complete biological system of each species. You cannot cure a disease by treating symptoms alone. You have to understand how the patient lives, what they breathe, what they eat, how their world shaped their evolution. "That is pseudoscience," the squid-headed official said. "Disease is disease. The Council has established proven protocols that work across all species." "Except when they do not work," Owen said. "What happens then?" "You let people die rather than admit your protocols might be wrong?" Halth's crystalline features somehow managed to look stern. "We let trained professionals make informed decisions based on tested science, not wild experiments by someone who thinks he knows better than the entire medical establishment." "I do know better," Owen said. The words came out harder than he intended, at least when it comes to diseases that your establishment cannot cure. The squid official made a gurgling sound that might have been laughter or disgust. "Arrogance. That is what we are dealing with here. Not genius, not insight, just human arrogance. Call it what you want," Owen said. "But those 4,000 people on Harvest Moon are alive because I was arrogant enough to try something different." Halth held up her hand for silence. "Dr. Fraser, you are brilliant. No one on the council denies that. But brilliance without discipline is dangerous. Your methods cannot be replicated. They cannot be taught. Each time you treat a disease, you invent something new. That is not how medicine works." "Maybe that is exactly how medicine should work," Owen shot back. "Every patient is different. Every species is different. Why should treatments be identical?" "Because we need standards," Halth said firmly. "We need procedures that any doctor can follow. Your way of practicing medicine died out centuries ago, even on Earth. We cannot have billions of lives depending on the instincts of individual doctors. We need science. We need proof. We need repeatability." Owen was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I have proof. 23 cured diseases. Millions of lives saved. What more proof do you need?" "We need to know that your successes were not accidents," the squid official said. "We need to know that another doctor, following your exact steps, would achieve the same results." "They would not," Owen admitted. "Because they would need to understand the patients as deeply as I do. They would need to spend weeks learning about each species, each environment, each unique factor. Your protocols skip all that. They try to make everything simple and universal. But life is not simple. Life is complicated and messy and beautiful in its complexity. Halth's expression softened slightly. Oh, and I understand your passion. But the Council cannot endorse methods that depend entirely on one person's intuition. What happens if you are wrong? What happens when you fail? I have not failed yet, Owen said. Yet, Halth repeated. That is the word that terrifies us. When you do fail, and you will because everyone does eventually, people will die. And it will be because you convince them to trust in untested methods rather than proven science. Owen looked at each of them in turn. So you are taking away my credentials, making it illegal for me to practice medicine. Within any council-recognized facility, yes, Halth said. She actually sounded regretful. You will not be arrested. You will not be punished. You simply will not be permitted to treat patients under council jurisdiction. Which is everywhere, Owen said flatly. Most places, yes. The airlock door opened again. Nurse Rila entered, her shell-covered body moving with surprising grace despite her bulk. She was young for her species, barely 30 years old, and she had been Owen's assistant for the past 5 years. I heard, she said simply. I am staying. Halth turned to her. Nurse Rila, if you continue to work with Dr. Fraser, your own credentials will be questioned. You have a promising career ahead of you. I have a duty to heal people, Rila said. Her voice was soft but certain. Dr. Fraser heals people. The council talks about healing people. I choose to stay where the healing happens. The squid official made another gurgling sound. Foolish. Both of you. Halth deactivated her data pad. The revocation is official as of this moment. Dr. Fraser, you have 48 hours to cease all medical activities. Do you understand? I understand that you are making a mistake, Owen said. Perhaps, Halth said. She moved toward the airlock, then paused. I hope we are making a mistake, Owen, I truly do. Because if we are right and you fail, people will die needlessly. But if you are right, and we have just silenced the one person who thinks differently enough to save lives we cannot save. She trailed off. I hope we are wrong. The 3 council officials left. Owen and Rila stood in the laboratory, listening to the docking clamps release and the ship depart. They will regret this, Rila said quietly. Owen shook his head. No, they will regret what comes next. Not because of what they did to me, but because of who they will fail to save when they need someone who thinks like I do. He turned back to his work. The tissue samples still waited on the scanner. There was a disease hidden in those cells, something that affected a small colony of miners on the edge of known space. The council had declared it too minor to investigate. Owen would cure it anyway. We do not stop, he said to Rila. They can take away my credentials, but they cannot take away my knowledge. People still need help. Rila's shell plates shifted, and what Owen had learned was her species' version of a smile. Then we keep helping them. Outside the viewport, the council ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving only stars and darkness behind. Owen preferred it that way. 6 months passed like sand through an hourglass, quiet and inevitable. Owen had continued his research from Outpost 7, treating anyone who came to him despite the council's ban. Most were desperate people from frontier worlds where council doctors rarely visited. He did not charge them. He simply helped. Rila was cataloging samples when the encrypted message arrived. The communication system chirped, and she looked up from her work. Owen, we have an incoming transmission. It is from Captain Ewan. Owen knew Ewan well. The transport captain ran supplies between outer colonies, and he had helped Owen get medical equipment more than once. But Ewan never used encrypted channels unless something was seriously wrong. The message played on the small screen. Ewan's face appeared, and Owen could see the worry in his eyes. Owen, I need your advice. Something strange is happening on Dust Haven. People are dying, and nobody knows why. The local doctors are panicking. They called for council help 3 weeks ago. The council sent a team, but the team could not stop it. More people die every day. The message continued with medical data. Owen watched the symptoms scroll past. Fever, organ failure, cellular breakdown. But the pattern was wrong. Some victims lost kidney function. Others had their lungs dissolve. Still others experienced complete liver failure. There was no consistency except that everyone died within 72 hours of showing symptoms. This does not make sense, Rila said, reading over his shoulder. Different symptoms for different people? That is not how diseases work. No, Owen agreed slowly. That is not how natural diseases work. He spent the next 2 days analyzing every piece of data Yuan had sent. The more he studied it, the more disturbed he became. This was not random. The disease attacked each victim's most critical systems. For a species that breathed methane, it destroyed their respiratory organs. For a species that filtered toxins through specialized glands, it targeted those glands specifically. It is learning, Owen said aloud. Ryla looked up sharply. What, the disease? It is learning from each victim. It studies their biology and then attacks their weakest point. That is why every death looks different. It is adapting to each species it encounters. That is impossible, Ryla said. But her voice lacked conviction. Owen contacted Yuan immediately. Get me everything. Every death, every species affected, every symptom recorded. I need all of it. The data came in over the next week, and with it came worse news. The plague had spread to 3 more worlds. Millions were now infected. The death toll climbed every hour. Owen watched the numbers increase on his screen and felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. He had seen epidemics before, but never anything like this. The disease moved too fast, adapted too quickly. Wherever it appeared, medical facilities were overwhelmed within days. The Galactic Medical Council issued statements. They assured everyone that their best doctors were working on treatments. They urged calm. They promised solutions were coming, but people kept dying. Owen tried to reach the council directly. He sent messages explaining what he had discovered about the adaptive nature of the plague. He outlined theories about how it might be stopped. He offered to help. The council never replied. They are ignoring you, Rayla said. She sounded angry, which was rare for her species. People are dying, and they are too proud to ask for your help. They think they can handle it, Owen said. They think their protocols will work eventually. But the protocols did not work. Owen watched the reports come in from infected worlds. Council doctors tried every standard treatment. Antivirals, antibiotics, radiation therapy, genetic therapy, nanomedicine. Nothing slowed the disease down. If anything, it seemed to adapt faster when they attacked it directly. It is like it learns from the treatments too, Owen muttered. Every time they try to kill it, it figures out how to resist. More worlds fell. The number jumped from 4 to 7 to 12. Trade routes shut down. Entire systems went into quarantine. Fear spread faster than the plague itself. Then Owen received a message that made his blood run cold. The plague had reached Clarity Prime, one of the Council homeworlds. The same people who had stripped his credentials were now facing the disease themselves. He should have felt vindicated. He should have felt satisfied that they were finally experiencing the consequences of their arrogance. But all Owen felt was sick, because he knew what was coming. He had studied this plague for weeks now. He understood how it worked, how it killed. Clarity Prime had a population of 8 billion. If the plague spread there like it had on other worlds, billions would die. We have to help them, Rila said quietly. They will not accept help from me, Owen replied. Then they are fools. Owen looked at the data again. The patterns were becoming clearer now. This was not a natural disease. Someone had created it, probably as a weapon, but something had gone wrong. Instead of targeting a specific species, it had mutated into something that could attack any form of life. It was like a key that could change shape to fit any lock, and the lock it picked was always the one that would kill the fastest. He ran projections. If the current spread rate continued, 14 worlds would be infected within a month. The death toll would reach 8 billion, maybe more. His console beeped. Another message from Yuan. Owen opened it and saw that the captain had filmed the message from a hospital on Dusthaven. Behind him, Owen could see bodies being carried out on stretchers. The hallways were packed with sick people. Owen, Yuan said, and his voice was hoarse. It is getting worse. We lost 30,000 people yesterday. 30,000 in one day. The doctors here do not know what to do anymore. They just try to make people comfortable before they die. The image shifted. Yuan must have turned the camera because now Owen could see a young alien child lying on a bed. Her skin had turned gray and her breathing was labored. A parent sat beside her, holding her hand. She is 5 years old, Yuan said quietly. Tell me how to save her, Owen. Tell me what to do. Owen stared at the screen long after the message ended. That child would be dead in 2 days, so would thousands of others, and after them millions more. Send everything we have to the council, He told Rila. Every analysis, every theory, every piece of research. Send it all. They will not read it, Rila said. Send it anyway. I want it on record that we tried. They worked through the night, compiling everything into a comprehensive report. Owen explained his theory about the adaptive nature of the plague. He explained why standard treatments were failing. He explained what he thought might work instead. They sent it directly to Administrator Health with a priority code. 2 days passed. No response came. On the third day, Owen saw a news report that made his hands shake. Administrator Health's daughter had fallen ill. She was 14 years old, a promising student at the medical academy. Now she lay in a hospital bed dying like everyone else. They cannot save her, Rila said softly. Their protocols do not work. They know it now. Owen turned away from the screen. He could not watch anymore. His console beeped again. Another message. But this one was different. It came through official council channels with the highest security clearance. He opened it. The face that appeared was not Administrator Halth. It was Council Speaker Drav, the head of the entire Galactic Medical Council. He was ancient even by his species standards, over 300 years old. His scales were dull with age, and his eyes held a weariness that spoke of too many difficult decisions. Dr. Fraser, Drav said, we need to speak. In person. Immediately. The message ended. Owen looked at Rila. She looked back at him. They are coming to beg, she said. Yes, Owen agreed. They are. Outside the viewport, a council ship dropped out of hyperspace. It was heading straight for Outpost 7. Owen watched it approach and felt no satisfaction, because he knew what this meant. The council only asked for help when they had exhausted every other option. They only came to him when people were dying and they had no other choice. He should have been angry. Part of him was, but mostly he just felt tired. Tired of being right. Tired of watching people die because of bureaucratic pride. The council ship moved closer. Soon they would dock. Soon they would ask for his help. And Owen knew he would give it. Not because they deserved it. Not because they had earned it. But because somewhere on Clarity Prime, a 14-year-old girl was dying. And on Dust Haven, a 5-year-old child was taking her last breaths. He would help because that was what doctors did, even when the people asking for help were the same ones who had called him a failure. The docking process seemed to take forever, though Owen knew it was only minutes. He stood by the airlock and watched through the small window as the council ship's umbilical connected to his station. Rila waited beside him, her shell plates pulled tight in a defensive posture. Neither of them spoke. When the airlock finally opened, Council Speaker Drav entered first. He moved slowly, his ancient body requiring a walking staff for support. Behind him came 2 guards and then at the rear Administrator Halth. She looked terrible. Her crystalline skin had lost its luster, and her movements were stiff with exhaustion or grief or both. Dr. Fraser, Drav said. His voice was surprisingly strong for someone so old. Thank you for receiving us. I did not have much choice, Owen replied. You came whether I agreed or not. Drav's scaled lips pulled back in what might have been a smile. Fair enough. May we speak somewhere more comfortable? Owen led them to his laboratory. It was still cluttered, still cramped, but it was the only space large enough for everyone. The council guard stayed by the airlock, but Drav and Halth followed him inside. I will be direct, Drav said once they were seated. We need your help. The plague has spread to 14 worlds now. 8 billion people are projected to die within the next month if we cannot stop it. Our best doctors, our best scientists, our best medical facilities have all failed to find a cure. You have studied this disease. We need your expertise. Owen looked at him steadily. 6 months ago, you took away my credentials. You said I was dangerous. You said my methods would kill people. Now you want those same methods to save people? Yes, Drav said simply. We were wrong about you. We admit that. But people are dying while we discuss the past. Will you help us or not? What are you offering? Owen asked. Halth leaned forward. Full access to all medical data from every infected world. Complete authority to override standard protocols if necessary. Access to any equipment or facility you need. Name your price, Dr. Fraser. My price is simple, Owen said. Public acknowledgement that the council was wrong to dismiss me. Public acknowledgement that my methods were valid all along. An official apology entered into council records. Drav's expression hardened. That is not possible. Then neither is my help. You would let billions die over your pride? Halth's voice cracked. Over a public apology? No, Owen said quietly. I would let billions die because the council refuses to admit that their arrogance was wrong. If you cannot admit you were wrong now, when will you? After I save everyone? You will take credit for having the wisdom to consult with me. You will say it was a collaborative effort. You will make sure that your precious protocols remain the standard, and my methods remain the exception. What does it matter what we say publicly? Drav demanded. As long as people are saved? It matters because next time when another disease appears that your protocols cannot handle, you will make the same mistake. You will waste time trying standard treatments while people die. You will wait until millions are dead before you consider alternatives. The public acknowledgement is not for my ego. It is to force the council to change. The laboratory fell silent. Rila shifted uncomfortably in the corner. The sound of her shell plates scraping together was very loud. Finally, Halth spoke. Her voice was barely above a whisper. My daughter is dying. Owen looked at her. I know. She is 14 years old. She wants to be a doctor like you. She has read all your papers, even the ones the council censored. She thinks you are brilliant. Halth's voice broke completely. Please, I do not care about public acknowledgments or apologies or anything else. Just save my daughter. Owen felt something crack inside his chest. He had been prepared for Drav's political maneuvering. He had been prepared for offers of money or position or restored credentials. He had not been prepared for a mother begging for her child's life. Owen, Rila said softly from behind him. People are dying while you make your point. He closed his eyes. She was right, of course. She was always right about these things. His pride, his need for validation, his anger at the council, none of it mattered compared to the lives at stake. A 14-year-old girl who wanted to be a doctor was dying. A 5-year-old child on Dusthaven was already dead, probably. How many others would die while he argued about apologies? I will help, he said finally. But when this is over, both of you will answer a question for me. In public, in front of the entire council. You will answer honestly no matter how much it embarrasses you or the council. What question? Drav asked warily. You will know it when I ask it. Do you agree? Drav and Halth exchanged glances. Then they both nodded. We agree, Drav said. Owen stood up. Then we leave immediately. Every hour we waste is more lives lost. Rayla, pack everything we need. Medical scanners, sample kits, analysis equipment, everything. Where are we going? Halth asked. Clarity Prime. Your daughter is there, correct? Yes. Then that is where we start. I need to examine patients directly. Your data is helpful, but I need to see this disease in person. Owen was already moving, pulling equipment from shelves and drawers. How fast is your ship? Military grade, Drav said. We can reach Clarity Prime in 8 hours. Make it 6. People are dying. The next hour was a blur of activity. Rayla packed medical supplies while Owen downloaded every piece of plague data the council had accumulated. Drav's guards helped carry equipment to the council ship. It was a sleek vessel, much larger than anything Owen had ever traveled on. The medical bay alone was bigger than his entire laboratory. Captain Ewan's ship arrived just as they were finishing. The transport captain had heard about the council's visit and came to offer his services. You will need transport between worlds, Ewan said. Council ships are fast, but I know the outer routes better. I can get you places they cannot. We may need that, Owen agreed. Stay close to Clarity Prime. I will contact you if necessary. As the council ship prepared to depart, Owen stood in the medical bay and reviewed the data one more time. The plague's pattern was clear to him now. It was not trying to kill its hosts. At least that had not been its original purpose. It was trying to integrate with them, to merge with their cellular structure, but something in its design had failed. Instead of becoming symbiotic, it became parasitic. Instead of enhancing its hosts, it destroyed them. You are very quiet, Rayla observed. She had taken the station beside him, organizing their equipment. I am thinking about what this disease was supposed to be, Owen said. Someone created this intentionally. It was supposed to be beneficial, I think. An enhancement. But it mutated. Can you fix it? I do not know. But I have an idea. Halth entered the medical bay. She looked even worse than before, if that was possible. We will reach Clarity Prime soon. My daughter is in the Central Medical Complex. They have her in isolation. How long has she been sick? Owen asked. 5 days. She is in the final stages now. The doctors say she has maybe 12 hours left. Halth's voice was steady, but Owen could see her hands shaking. Dr. Fraser, I need you to understand something. If you can only save one person, if you can only save my daughter, I will be grateful. But I know that is not what you do. I know you will try to save everyone. Just please do not let her die. Owen met her eyes. I will do everything I can. But I need you to trust me. What I am going to do will seem insane. Your doctors will tell you I am killing her. You have to trust me anyway. Why? Halth asked. Why will it seem like you are killing her? Because I am not going to fight the disease, Owen said. I am going to work with it. Halth stared at him. That makes no sense. Your protocols fight the disease. They try to kill it, remove it, destroy it. That is why they fail. The disease adapts and survives. My method is different. I am going to teach the disease how to integrate properly, how to become what it was supposed to be. That is impossible, Halth said. 6 months ago you said all my methods were impossible. Were you right then, or are you right now? Halth had no answer to that. The ship shuddered slightly as it dropped out of hyperspace. Through the viewports, Owen could see Clarity Prime. It was a beautiful world covered in crystalline structures that caught and reflected light. But even from orbit, he could see the smoke rising from burning pyres. They were cremating bodies faster than they could count them. How many dead? He asked quietly. On Clarity Prime? 2 million so far. Drav had entered the medical bay without Owen noticing. Across all 14 infected worlds? 30 million and climbing. 30 million people. The number was too large to truly comprehend. Owen tried to imagine 30 million individual lives, 30 million families grieving, 30 million futures erased. He could not. The human mind was not built to understand tragedy on that scale. We are landing at Central Medical Complex now, Drav said. Dr. Fraser, I hope you know what you are doing. So do I, Owen admitted. The ship descended through Clarity Prime's atmosphere. Owen watched the crystalline cities grow larger below them. Somewhere down there, a 14-year-old girl was dying. Somewhere down there, thousands of others were dying too. He had promised to save them. Now he had to figure out how. The ship touched down. The airlock opened. And Owen stepped out onto a world that was drowning in death, carrying nothing but his knowledge and the desperate hope that it would be enough. The smell hit Owen first. Even through the air filtration systems, the scent of death permeated everything. Antiseptic and decay mixed together in a combination that made his stomach twist. Central Medical Complex was the largest hospital on Clarity Prime, built to serve millions. Now it served as a place where people came to die. Bodies lined the hallways on stretchers, not dead yet but dying. Their families sat beside them, holding hands that would soon turn cold. Medical staff rushed past, their faces exhausted and hollow. They had the look of soldiers who had already lost the war but were still being ordered to fight. Halth led Owen through the chaos. Doctors stopped and stared as they recognized the administrator. Some looked hopeful. Others looked angry. One elderly physician blocked their path. You brought him? The doctor demanded, pointing at Owen. The human whose credentials you revoked? This is what we have come to? Yes, Halth said simply. This is what we have come to. Now move. They rode an elevator to the isolation wing. The doors opened onto a floor that was eerily quiet compared to the chaos below. Here, the most critical patients were kept separated. Here, people died alone so they would not infect others with their final breaths. She is in room 47, Halth said. Her voice had gone flat, emotionless. Owen recognized the tone. She was protecting herself from feeling too much. Room 47 had a window. Through it, Owen could see a young girl lying in a hospital bed. Her crystalline skin had turned gray and dull like old glass. Tubes connected her to machines that beeped and hissed, keeping her alive through artificial means. Beside her bed sat a man who could only be her father, his head in his hands. Can I go in? Owen asked. You should wear protective gear, Halth said. The disease is highly contagious. No, Owen said. I need direct contact. I need to examine her properly. Halth grabbed his arm. You will get infected. Maybe, but I cannot help her from behind a protective suit. I need to touch her, see her, understand how the disease is affecting her specifically. Owen looked at Halth. Either you trust me or you do not. Which is it? Halth let go of his arm. Go. Owen entered the room. The father looked up, startled. His eyes were red from crying. Who are you? The father demanded. My name is Owen Fraser. I am a doctor. I am here to help your daughter. The doctor said nothing can help her now. They said to say goodbye. The father's voice broke. She is only 14. Owen approached the bed. The girl was unconscious, kept sedated so she would not feel the pain of her organs shutting down. He gently took her wrist and felt her pulse. It was weak and irregular. Her skin was cold to the touch. What is her name? Owen asked. Celia, the father said. Celia, Owen repeated softly. He pulled out his medical scanner and began running it over her body. The readings confirmed what he had suspected. Her liver was failing. The disease had identified it as her most critical organ and was systematically destroying it. I need samples, Owen said. Blood, tissue, everything. Ryla entered the room with the necessary equipment. She did not wear protective gear either. The father watched them work with a mixture of hope and disbelief. What are you going to do? He asked. Something that will seem wrong, Owen said honestly. Something that will make her worse before it makes her better. I need you to trust me anyway. Why should I trust you? I do not even know you. Owen looked up from his scanner. Because your daughter is going to die in the next few hours if you do not. The council's protocols have failed. I am the only option left. The father was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Do what you need to do. Owen worked quickly. He took samples of Celia's blood, her tissue, even samples of the disease organisms themselves. He studied them under his portable microscope while Ryla ran genetic analysis. The pattern became clearer with each test. It is trying to bond with her cells, Owen said. Look here. See how it is attempting to integrate its genetic material with hers? But the process is flawed. Instead of merging, it is replacing. It is destroying her cells and trying to rebuild them, but it does not know how. The instructions are corrupted. Can you fix the instructions? Ryla asked. No, but I can give it better instructions to follow. Owen pulled up data on Clarity Prime's biosphere. He studied the microorganisms native to this world. The bacteria and viruses that every person here was exposed to from birth. Their bodies had learned to live with these organisms, to work with them in symbiotic relationships. The disease is trying to become symbiotic, Owen explained, but it has no template to follow. It does not know how to live with a host without killing it. So we give it a template. We introduce native organisms that already know how to bond with her species. The disease will study them, learn from them, and hopefully adapt. Ryla's shell plates shifted in alarm. You want to introduce more organisms into a patient who is already dying from infection? Owen, that is insane. I know, Owen said. But it is the only thing that might work. The council tried to kill the disease. That just made it fight harder. We need to teach it how to live peacefully instead. He prepared the injection carefully. It contained a mixture of native microorganisms from Clarity Prime, all of them harmless symbiotes that lived naturally in the bodies of health species. He added compounds that would encourage cellular cooperation rather than cellular warfare. This is going to make her very sick, Owen warned the father. Her body will react to the new organisms. Her fever will spike. She may have seizures. For the next 12 hours, it will look like I am killing her. You have to let me continue anyway. Will it work? The father asked. I do not know, Owen admitted. I have never tried this before. But doing nothing will definitely kill her. This gives her a chance. The father looked at his daughter. Then he nodded. Do it. Owen administered the injection. For a few minutes, nothing happened. Then Celia's body began to react. Her temperature spiked. The machines around her began beeping frantically. Her father stood up in alarm. What is happening? Her immune system is responding to the new organisms, Owen said. That is good. It means her body is still fighting. But it did not look good. It looked like Celia was dying faster. Her breathing became labored. Her heart rate became erratic. Council doctors burst into the room, drawn by the alarms. What did you do? One of them shouted at Owen. I am treating her, Owen said calmly. You are killing her. Her vitals are crashing. She was going to die anyway. At least now she has a chance. The doctors wanted to intervene, to flush Owen's treatment from Celia's system and try their own protocols again. Owen refused to let them. Health appeared in the doorway and ordered the doctors to back off. Let him work, she commanded. But Administrator, he is making her worse. I said let him work. The doctors retreated, but they stayed nearby, watching with hostile eyes. Owen ignored them. He monitored Celia's vitals carefully, adjusting dosages, adding compounds to help her body cope with the stress. Ryla worked beside him, anticipating his needs before he asked. 6 hours passed. Celia's condition continued to deteriorate. Her father sat in the corner, his face buried in his hands. Health stood in the doorway like a statue, watching everything with blank eyes. 12 hours. Celia's fever peaked at a temperature that should have killed her. Her organs were failing faster than the machines could compensate. Owen heard the doctors whispering outside, saying they should stop this madness, that they should let the girl die with dignity rather than torture her. Owen checked his scanner for the 100th time. At the cellular level, something was changing. The disease organisms were reacting to the native symbiotes he had introduced. They were studying them, learning from them. The process was slow, too slow, but it was happening. "Come on," Owen whispered. "You can do this. Learn, adapt, become what you were supposed to be." Hour 13. Celia's fever began to drop. Just slightly, but it dropped. Hour 14. Her heart rate stabilized. The machines stopped their frantic beeping. Hour 15. Her breathing eased. The strain on her organs began to lessen. Rila grabbed Owen's arm. "Look at the cellular scans." Owen looked. At the microscopic level, the disease organisms were changing. They were no longer attacking Celia's cells. They were bonding with them, integrating properly. The corrupted instructions had been overwritten by the template Owen had provided. The disease was learning how to be symbiotic instead of parasitic. "It is working," Rila breathed. By hour 24, Celia was stable. The disease was still in her system, but it was no longer killing her. It had become dormant, waiting, learning how to exist in harmony with its host. By hour 48, she was recovering. Her organs began to regenerate. Her color returned. Her vitals returned to normal ranges. On the 3rd day, she woke up. "Dad," she said weakly. Her father was at her side instantly, tears streaming down his crystalline face. "I am here, Celia. I am here." Celia looked around the room in confusion. Her eyes found Owen. "Who are you?" "Just a doctor," Owen said with a tired smile. Halth entered the room. For the first time since Owen had arrived, she was crying. She went to her daughter and held her carefully as if afraid she might break. "You saved her," Halth whispered to Owen. "You actually saved her?" "Yes," Owen said. "And now we need to save everyone else." Word spread quickly through Central Medical Complex. The human doctor had cured someone. It seemed impossible, but there was living proof in room 47. Doctors who had been hostile hours before now crowded around Owen, demanding to know how he had done it. Owen explained his method while Rila prepared more treatments. Each patient would need a customized mixture based on their specific biology and the native organisms from their homeworld. It would be labor-intensive. It would require understanding each species deeply, but it would work. "This is not a protocol we can standardize," one of the council doctors protested. "Every treatment is different. How can we teach this to other doctors?" "You teach them to think," Owen said. "You teach them to understand their patients as individuals, not as generic cases. You teach them that medicine is not about following protocols blindly, but about understanding life in all its complexity." Over the next week, Owen and his growing team of converted council doctors treated hundreds of patients on Clarity Prime. The success rate was over 90%. Those who survived became carriers of the dormant disease, but it no longer harmed them. They had become immune, adapted, evolved. The technique worked on other species too. Owen and his team traveled to the other infected worlds, training local doctors in his methods. Each world required different approaches, different native organisms, different solutions. But the principle remained the same. Do not fight the disease. Teach it how to coexist. Within a month, the plague was contained. The death toll stopped climbing. Worlds began to recover. Owen had done what the entire Galactic Medical Council could not do. He had saved billions of lives by refusing to follow their rules. The council chamber was built to intimidate. It rose 7 stories high, with seats arranged in concentric circles that all looked down toward the center floor. Owen stood in that center now with thousands of eyes watching him from above. Representatives from every member world of the Galactic Medical Council had come. So had representatives from the 14 worlds he had saved. The chamber was more crowded than it had been in decades. Rila stood beside him, her shell plates gleaming in the bright lights. She had refused to wait outside. Captain Ewan was there too, seated in the visitor gallery along with dozens of other people Owen had treated over the years. They had all come to see this moment. Council Speaker Drav stood at the highest point in the chamber. His voice carried easily through the acoustic design of the space. This emergency session is called to order. We gathered today to discuss the recent plague outbreak and the efforts to contain it. As you all know, 14 worlds were infected. Thanks to the tireless work of the Galactic Medical Council and its consultants, the plague has been stopped. 8 billion lives were saved. Owen noticed how Drav phrased it, the council and its consultants, as if Owen had been just one voice among many, rather than the only voice that had mattered. The council proposes a commendation for all doctors involved in the response, Drav continued. Additionally, we will be establishing new research initiatives to study adaptive diseases and develop better protocols for future outbreaks. The representatives applauded politely. Owen noticed that Drav was carefully avoiding any mention of the council's initial failures. There was no acknowledgement that their protocols had been useless. No mention that they had ignored Owen's warnings for weeks while people died. Just praise for everyone involved and promises to do better next time. In recognition of his contributions, Drav said, looking down at Owen, the council offers Dr. Owen Fraser a position as senior consultant on xenobiological medicine. He will have access to all council facilities and resources. His credentials will be fully restored. More applause. Owen let it die down before he spoke. I have a question for the council, he said. His voice was calm, but it carried through the chamber clearly. Drav looked slightly annoyed at the interruption. Dr. Fraser, we can discuss the details of your position in private. This is not about the position. You promised to answer a question when this was over. Both you and Administrator Halth. You agreed to answer it publicly, honestly, no matter how much it embarrassed you. The chamber went quiet. Halth, seated near Drav, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Drav's scaled face showed no emotion, but Owen could see tension in the way he gripped his speaking staff. Very well, Drav said slowly. Ask your question. Owen took a breath. This was the moment he had been planning since Clarity Prime. This was why he had agreed to help them. Not for restored credentials or fancy positions. For this. 6 months ago, Owen began, the Galactic Medical Council stripped my credentials. You called my work dangerous. You said my methods were unproven, reckless, and would get people killed. You told me I had no place in galactic medicine. You declared me a failure as a doctor. He paused and looked up at all the faces watching him, representatives from the worlds he had saved. Doctors who had worked with him, families of patients who had survived. My question is simple, Owen said. If I am such a failure, if my methods are so dangerous, if I have no place in galactic medicine, then why are you alive? The silence that followed was absolute. Owen could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. He kept his eyes on Drav and Halth, waiting. Drav opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at Halth. She looked back at him. Neither spoke. Answer him, someone called from the upper galleries. Owen recognized the voice. It was one of the doctors from Clarity Prime who had watched him save Celia. Yes, answer. Another voice joined in. We want to know too. More voices rose. Not angry, but insistent. The chamber filled with murmuring that grew louder by the second. Representatives from the saved world stood up. They wanted an answer. Drav raised his hand for silence. It took several minutes for the chamber to quiet down. When it did, he looked directly at Owen. You want the truth? Drav asked. Very well. Here is the truth. The council was wrong. The murmuring started again, but Drav spoke over it. We were wrong about Dr. Fraser. We were wrong about his methods. We were wrong to strip his credentials. Drav's voice was steady, but Owen could hear the strain in it. When the plague appeared, we threw everything we had at it. Every protocol, every treatment, every piece of technology the council had developed over centuries. And all of it failed. People died by the millions while we insisted that our way was the right way. Drav's grip on his speaking staff tightened until his knuckles turned white. Dr. Fraser sent us warnings. He sent us analysis. He sent us solutions. We ignored all of it because it did not fit our protocols. We let people die because we were too proud to admit that maybe, just maybe, we did not have all the answers. The chamber was silent again. Every eye was on Drav now. So to answer your question, Dr. Fraser, we are alive because you were right and we were wrong. We are alive because you saved us despite every obstacle we put in your way. We are alive because you refused to let our arrogance stop you from doing what needed to be done. Drav's voice dropped. We are alive because you are a better doctor than any of us. Administrator Health stood up. Her crystalline face was wet with tears that caught the light and scattered it like prisms. "My daughter is alive," she said, and her voice shook. "Celia is alive because Dr. Fraser did what I had declared impossible." I watched her dying. I watched the Council's protocols fail. I watched our best doctors give up hope. And then I watched a human doctor whose credentials I had personally revoked do something that seemed insane. She looked down at Owen. He made her worse before he made her better. He introduced more disease into a body that was already dying from disease. Every instinct I had told me to stop him, to throw him out and let my daughter die with dignity. But I trusted him, and he saved her life. Health's voice grew stronger. Dr. Fraser's methods cannot be easily taught. They cannot be standardized into simple protocols. They require doctors to think, to understand, to treat each patient as a unique individual rather than a generic case. That terrifies the Council because it means we cannot control the process. It means we have to trust in the judgment of individual doctors rather than in our bureaucratic systems. She paused. But that is how medicine should be. We forgot that. We became so focused on protocols and standards that we forgot we were treating living beings, not problems to be solved with formulaic solutions. Halth sat down. The chamber remained quiet for a long moment. Then one of the representatives from the saved world stood up. He was from Dust Haven, the first world infected. "I lost my daughter to the plague," he said quietly. "She was 5 years old. She died before Dr. Fraser arrived. But because of him, thousands of other children on my world survived. Children who would be dead if we had relied only on Council protocols." Another representative stood. "My entire family was infected. All of them survived because of Dr. Fraser's methods, not because of the Council." More representatives stood. One by one, they shared their stories. Lives saved. Children who lived. Parents who survived. All because Owen had refused to follow the rules. Finally, Drav spoke again. "The Council hereby issues a formal apology to Dr. Owen Fraser. We were wrong to strip his credentials. We were wrong to dismiss his methods. We were wrong to let bureaucratic pride blind us to the truth that was right in front of us." He looked around the chamber. "Furthermore, the Council will be implementing comprehensive reforms. Dr. Fraser's approach to personalized medicine will be integrated into all medical training programs. We will establish new standards that encourage creative thinking, rather than blind protocol following. And we will ensure that never again does institutional arrogance cost lives." Drav looked at Owen. "Dr. Fraser, the Council offers its deepest apology. We failed the galaxy. You saved it. That is the truth, and it will be entered into the permanent record." The chamber erupted in applause. Not polite applause this time, but genuine thunderous approval. Representatives stood and clapped. Doctors in the galleries cheered. Owen saw Captain Ewan grinning and wiping his eyes. Owen let the applause continue for a moment. Then he raised his hand for quiet. It took a while, but eventually the chamber settled. "I accept your apology," Owen said. "But I do not want your consultant position." Drav looked surprised. "No? No. I am going back to Outpost 7. I am going to continue my research. I am going to train anyone who wants to learn my methods. And I am going to treat patients who need help, whether the Council approves or not." Owen smiled slightly. "But I do have one request. Remove the restriction on my credentials, not so I can work for the Council, but so that other doctors like me, doctors who think differently, can work without fear. Create space in your system for methods that do not fit your protocols. Allow innovation, even when it makes you uncomfortable." "That will create chaos," one of the Council members objected. "How will we maintain standards?" "The same way you always should have," Owen replied. "By measuring outcomes, not protocols. If a doctor saves lives, they are a good doctor. If their methods fail, they are a bad doctor. It should be that simple." He looked around the chamber one more time. "I do not want to destroy the Council or its protocols. Standard treatments work for most diseases. But when they do not work, you need people who can think outside those standards. You need people who are willing to try the impossible. Make room for those people. And the next time a plague comes, you will not have to wait until millions are dead before you ask for help." Drav was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "It will be done. The Council will reform. We will make room for innovation. We will trust our doctors to think, not just to follow orders." He struck his speaking staff on the floor 3 times, the traditional signal for a binding Council decision. Let it be recorded. Dr. Owen Fraser is hereby recognized as a fully credentialed physician of the highest rank. Furthermore, the Council commits to comprehensive reform of medical education and practice. The age of rigid protocols is over. The age of personalized medicine begins today. The applause returned, even louder than before. Owen stood in the center of it all and felt no triumph. He felt only tired relief. It was done. The fight was over. Now he could go back to work. Rila touched his arm. "You did it," she said softly. "We did it," Owen corrected. "I could not have done any of this without you." Halth appeared beside them. She looked directly at Owen. "Thank you," she said simply, "for everything." "How is Celia?" Owen asked. "Recovering well. She wants to meet you properly. She wants to study medicine with you." Owen smiled. "Send her to Outpost 7 when she is ready. We always have room for students who want to learn." As the council session dissolved into celebration and discussion, Owen quietly left the chamber with Rila and Captain Ewan. They had a ship to catch. Work was waiting back at the station. Patients would need help. Students would want to learn. The galaxy had changed today, but Owen's work remained the same. Help those who needed it, question authority when necessary, and never ever follow protocols blindly when lives were at stake. 3 months had passed since the council session, and Owen barely recognized his own station anymore. Outpost 7, once a cramped and lonely research facility at the edge of human space, now bustled with activity day and night. Young doctors from dozens of species moved through the corridors, studying, practicing, learning the methods that had saved billions. Owen floated through the observation deck, watching a transport ship dock. Another group of students arriving. Rila met them at the airlock, her shell plates gleaming as she welcomed the newcomers and began the orientation process she had perfected over the past weeks. She had become more than his assistant. She was his partner in this endeavor, the head of training for what had become an unofficial medical academy. The laboratory he had worked in alone for years was now divided into teaching sections. One area focused on xenobiology, another on adaptive disease response, a third on personalized treatment design. Students clustered around sample stations, arguing good-naturedly about cellular structures and treatment approaches. The sound of learning filled spaces that had once held only silence. Owen checked his schedule. He had 3 patient consultations today, a lecture on symbiotic disease theory, and a meeting with Captain Ewan about expanding transport routes for medical supplies. Somewhere in there, he needed to eat and maybe sleep. The latter seemed increasingly optional these days. His console chimed. A priority message from Clarity Prime. Owen opened it, expecting another bureaucratic request from the council. Instead, Celia's face appeared on the screen. She looked healthy now, her crystalline skin bright and clear. No trace remained of how close she had come to death 3 months ago. She wore a student uniform from the medical academy on Clarity Prime, but Owen could see packed bags behind her in the frame. "Dr. Fraser," she said, and her voice carried the nervous excitement of youth. "My mother said you agreed to take me as a student. I have completed all the preliminary coursework the Academy requires. I can be at Outpost 7 in 3 days if you have space for me." Owen smiled. Halth's daughter, wanting to learn from the man who had saved her life. There was a poetry to it. "We always have space for dedicated students," he replied. "But I should warn you, Celia. What we do here is not like the Academy. We do not follow standard curricula. We do not have formal lectures on most days. You learn by doing, by treating actual patients, by making mistakes and learning from them." "That is exactly what I want," Celia said eagerly. "The Academy teaches protocols. You teach medicine. There is a difference." "Your mother said something similar once," Owen observed. "Welcome aboard, Celia. We will see you when you arrive." He closed the communication and stood up from his desk. Through the viewport, he could see more ships approaching. The galaxy had taken notice of what was happening at Outpost 7. Young doctors who felt constrained by rigid protocols were coming here to learn a different way. And Owen was determined to teach them. The door to his office opened. Administrator Halth entered without knocking, which no longer surprised Owen. She had visited the station twice in the past month, ostensibly to check on the council's commitment to reform, but Owen suspected she also wanted to see where her daughter would be studying. "Administrator," Owen greeted her. "I just spoke with Celia. She will be here soon." "I know," Halth said. I am the one who told her she could come. She moved to the viewport and looked out at the arriving ships. You have built something remarkable here, Owen. In just 3 months, Outpost 7 has become more influential than medical academies that have existed for centuries. We are just teaching doctors to think, Owen said. That should not be remarkable. It should be normal, but it is not normal. The Council is discovering that changing centuries of institutional thinking is harder than we anticipated. Halth turned to face him. We have implemented the reforms we promised. Medical students are now taught your methods alongside traditional protocols, but many of the older doctors resist. They say your way is too difficult, too time-consuming, too dependent on individual judgment. They are right, Owen said. It is all of those things. But it also saves lives that protocols cannot save. I know, and that is why I am here. Halth pulled out a datapad and handed it to Owen. The Council wants to make Outpost 7 an official training facility. We will provide funding, equipment, whatever you need. In exchange, we ask that you formalize your curriculum so other institutions can teach it. Owen looked at the datapad. The funding offer was substantial. With that kind of support, they could expand the station, treat more patients, train more students. But the price was formalization, structure, the very thing he had been fighting against. No, he said, handing the datapad back. Halth blinked in surprise. No, Owen, this is an incredible opportunity. It is a trap, Owen said, not unkindly. The moment I formalize my curriculum, it stops being adaptive. It becomes just another set of protocols. Students will learn what I teach rather than learning how to think. In 3 generations, my methods will be as rigid as the protocols I fought against. Then how do we spread what you do? Halth asked, frustrated. How do we ensure that doctors across the galaxy learn these methods? They come here, Owen said simply. Or they go to wherever my students establish their own teaching facilities. This is not something you can package into a standardized course. Every teacher will approach it differently. Every student will learn different lessons. That is the point. Medicine is not uniform. Why should medical education be? Halth was quiet for a long moment. Then she laughed, a sound like chimes in the wind. My fellow council members are going to hate that answer. Let them hate it, Owen said. As long as they do not interfere with what we are doing here. They will not. You have too much public support now. Every family on those 14 worlds remembers who saved them. Halth paused. But Owen, you should know that there are already problems emerging. Some doctors are claiming to use your methods but are really just experimenting recklessly. 3 patients died last week because a doctor on Frontier Station decided to try mixing incompatible medications, claiming he was being innovative like you. Owen felt his stomach sink. That was going to happen eventually. Anytime you tell people to think outside the rules, some will use it as an excuse for poor judgment. So what do? The same thing we always should have done. Judge doctors by their outcomes. If their innovative methods work, they are good doctors. If their methods kill people, they are bad doctors. Remove the bad ones from practice. Owen met her eyes. But do not use their failures as an excuse to return to rigid protocols. Some innovation will fail. That is the cost of progress. The Council wants clearer guidelines, Halth pressed. Something to distinguish between reasonable innovation and dangerous experimentation. Then tell them to use their judgment, Owen said. That is what we are teaching here. Judgment. Discernment. The ability to know when to follow rules and when to break them. You cannot write guidelines for that. You have to trust your doctors to develop that wisdom through experience. Before Halth could respond, Rila entered the office. Owen, we have an emergency. A ship just arrived from the Outer Reach. They have a disease outbreak. Symptoms do not match anything in our databases. Owen was already moving toward the door. How many infected? 40 crew members on the ship. But they came from a mining colony with 3,000 residents. If the disease is there too. Rila did not need to finish the sentence. Get me everything they have. Medical scans, symptoms, environmental data from the colony. I want to know what these people breathe, what they eat, everything. Owen glanced back at Halth. You wanted to see how we work? Come observe. The next 6 hours were intense. Owen and his students gathered in the main laboratory, analyzing data from the infected ship. The symptoms were bizarre. Some crew members developed rapid muscle growth, others experienced bone density loss. Still others showed signs of accelerated aging. There was no consistent pattern. Owen's students threw out theories. A chemical contamination from the mines, radiation exposure, a new pathogen. Owen listened to all of them and asked questions that pushed the students to think deeper. Why would a chemical cause muscle growth in one person and bone loss in another? He asked. What would need to be true about the chemical or about the people? One student, a young alien with 4 eyes and blue skin, raised a tentacle hesitantly. Maybe it is not affecting everyone the same way because everyone is different? Like maybe it interacts with their genetics? Good, Owen encouraged. Keep going with that thought. Another student jumped in. If it is genetic, then we need to know not just what the disease is doing, but what genetic factors make each person susceptible to different symptoms. Exactly, Owen said. Now you are thinking like doctors instead of protocol followers. We do not have one disease here. We have one trigger causing different diseases in different people based on their individual biology. They worked through the night. Owen sent students to interview the ship's crew, to gather detailed medical histories to map out genetic profiles. Others analyzed environmental samples from the mining colony. Slowly, a picture emerged. The colony had struck a new mineral vein 3 weeks ago. The mineral released a gas when exposed to oxygen. That gas was the trigger. It bonded with genetic material and caused rapid mutations, but the specific mutations depended on each person's existing genetic structure. How do we treat genetic mutations? A student asked. We do not, Owen said. We cannot reverse them, but we can stabilize them. We can use gene therapy to lock the mutations in place so they stop progressing. Then we can use targeted treatments to help each person adapt to their new biology. It was unconventional. It was risky. It went against every protocol for treating poisoning or contamination, but it was also the only approach that made sense for this particular situation. Over the next week, Owen and his team treated all 40 crew members and coordinated with doctors on the mining colony to treat the 3,000 residents there. The success rate was 70%. 30% of patients could not be stabilized and died from their mutations. At the end of it, Owen gathered his students for a discussion. We lost 900 people, he said quietly. That is 900 failures. 900 families who trusted us to save their loved ones and we could not. How do you feel about that? The students were quiet. Some looked devastated. Others looked angry at themselves. This is the reality of medicine, Owen continued. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes our innovations do not work. Sometimes people die despite our best efforts. If you cannot accept that, you should not be doctors. Celia, who had arrived during the crisis and jumped immediately into helping, spoke up. But we saved 2,100 people. Without our treatment, all 3,000 would have died. Does that not count? Of course it counts, Owen said. But we cannot let our successes make us forget our failures. Every patient who dies is a lesson. We study what went wrong. We think about what we could have done differently. And we use that knowledge to do better next time. He looked around at his students. The council wants clear guidelines to separate good innovation from bad innovation. Here is your guideline. Good innovation learns from its failures. Bad innovation ignores them and makes the same mistakes repeatedly. Remember every patient you lose. Carry them with you. Let them make you better. Administrator Halth, who had stayed to observe the entire crisis, approached Owen after the students dispersed. You lost 30% of the patients. Some council members will say that proves your methods are too risky. Some council members will always say that, Owen replied, but the alternative was losing 100%. Math is math. Still, it gives ammunition to those who want to return to rigid protocols. Owen turned to face her fully. Halth, there will always be people who want to return to the old ways. Change is uncomfortable. Thinking is hard. Following protocols is easier. But you cannot let their fear stop progress. The council promised reform. Either you commit to that reform even when it is difficult, or you admit the promise was empty. Halth nodded slowly. You are right. I will handle the council. She paused. My daughter did well during the crisis. I watched her work. She has your instincts. She has her own instincts, Owen corrected. And that is good. I do not want to create copies of myself. I want to create doctors who can think independently. A message arrived on Owen's console. He glanced at it and smiled. That is interesting. What? The Council Academy on Clarity Prime wants to send 50 students here for a 6-month rotation. They want their top graduates to learn our methods before they enter practice. Owen looked at Halth. Did you arrange this? No, Halth said. But I am not surprised. Word is spreading about what you do here. Every medical academy in the galaxy is going to want their students to train at Outpost 7. We do not have room for 50 more students, Owen said. Then expand. Build more facilities. Train more teachers. Let your students who graduate establish their own training stations. Halth smiled. You started a revolution, Owen, now you have to manage it. Owen looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. 3 months ago, he had been alone at this station, stripped of his credentials, told he was a failure. Now he was training the next generation of doctors. Now the galaxy was changing its approach to medicine because of methods he had pioneered. I did not start this to create a movement, he said quietly. I just wanted to help people. I know, Halth said. That is why it worked. People can tell the difference between someone seeking glory and someone seeking to heal. She prepared to leave, then paused at the door. Owen, I have one more question. What will you do when the next crisis comes? When another disease appears that nobody can cure, will you always be there to save us? Owen thought about that. I will not live forever, Halth. Eventually I will be gone. But by then, there will be thousands of doctors who think like I do. Millions, maybe. The galaxy will not need me specifically. It will have an entire generation of doctors who understand that rules are guidelines, not chains. That is my real legacy. Halth smiled. Then I suppose we are in good hands. After she left, Owen returned to his desk. His console showed dozens of messages waiting. Requests for consultations. Applications from prospective students. Reports from doctors in the field using his methods. The work never stopped. Rila entered with a cup of tea. She set it on his desk without a word, just as she had done thousands of times before. Thank you, Owen said. You need to sleep, Rila observed. You have been awake for 36 hours. Soon, Owen promised. I just need to review these reports. The reports will be there tomorrow. Your health will not be if you keep working like this. Someone has to. You are terrible at taking care of yourself. Rila's shell plates shifted in amusement. Besides, you tell your students all the time that they cannot help others if they do not help themselves first. Practice what you teach. She was right, of course. Owen saved the reports for later and stood up. Through the viewport, he could see the stars and the ships moving between them. Somewhere out there, people needed help. They would always need help. But tonight, others would have to handle it. Tonight, he would rest. As he walked to his quarters, Owen passed through the common area where his students gathered. They were arguing about treatment theories, sharing stories from their homeworlds, learning from each other. A human student was explaining Earth's medical history to a group of fascinated aliens. 2 students were running simulations on a portable medical scanner, testing different approaches to the same problem. This was what mattered, not credentials or positions or council approvals. This moment right here where young minds learn to think and question and heal. Owen reached his quarters and lay down. For the first time in months, he felt truly content. The galaxy had called him a failure once. Now it was learning that failure was just another word for someone who refused to accept that the old ways were the only ways. He closed his eyes and smiled. Tomorrow there would be more work, more patience, more crises, more opportunities to teach and heal and push against the boundaries of what people thought was possible. But tonight Owen Fraser slept peacefully, knowing that the galaxy was a little bit safer because people like him refused to follow orders blindly. The stars continued their ancient dance outside his window. And in the morning, the work would begin again.